I walked out of yesterday's live show not knowing what we were talking about today. I had no clue what to expect. Was it going to be a top 25? Was it going to be Brent Pry being fired, which we didn't know at the time, but hey, good call on our part. Um, will it be UCLA firing their head coach? We're going to talk about those two specifically today. We're going to talk about how Virginia Tech and UCLA can both move forward as programs because, to be honest, these are two programs that have some money behind them, could certainly do what they need to do. Now, UCLA is in a bit of an interesting spot, right? They've operated about $200 million in debt the last few years. We'll explain kind of how that looks, what that looks like, and what they can do to improve their situation, along with the other side as well. Where we talk about how Virginia Tech can improve their situation, and it starts by making the right coaching hire, which is something they have not done over the last couple of times around. So we're going to cover all that. But before we do, I just want to say thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for making yesterday's live show the most viewed live show we've ever had on the time. Uh, at the time of we finished, we were at 90 views, and I appreciate you all. Please, if you're new around here, subscribe. If you do nothing else, subscribe. Help these videos continue to get out. Help us hit 200. We're 12 away. We're at 188. Help us hit 200. We got videos every day, Monday, Sunday to Sunday, basically. We have new stuff, including live shows Saturday, Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern, as you see at the bottom. I've upgraded this lower graphic to kind of better show you what we do here because I haven't always hit the 1 p.m. mark. Unfortunately, having a full-time job and doing this full-time, it's a little difficult to be perfect on the numbers, but we do get a video out every single day, and we're going to continue to do that as we go through this season. 7 days a week content all the way up through the national championship. Once the national championship is over, then we cut down. We cut down to about three a week, or sorry, not three a week, um, 1 to 2 a week, varying on news and different things like that. Or well, we cut down, sorry, to about three a week up until signing day, and then after signing day, then we cut down to about one a week. We'll have some other stuff in there. We'll have some other content in there. It's not going to just completely go away. I'm not going to cut down to one a week and just not do anything else. But we are going to have a bunch of content. But please stick around because then it leads back up to preview season. It starts on June 1st every year. And preview season might even start earlier than that. We may have a little bit different lined up for you guys. So make sure you're tuning in. Make sure you're sticking around because we've got content year round here on this channel. And or that's at least the plan. I shouldn't say we do because we haven't done it yet. We haven't been here long enough yet. But the intent is to have content year round, and the intent is for you guys to be around here too. So please subscribe. Please leave a like if you do feel inclined. I think we have a lot of good discussion today. I'd really love to hear what you guys have to say, especially UCLA, Virginia Tech fans. What you guys are looking for from your new head coach, and maybe even more if we're talking about another school. So let's go ahead and get into it. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. Now that all the groveling's over, all the sappy stuff's over, let's talk college football. But let's talk the off-field stuff, right? This is a big deal. This is a bit of a surprise, but at the same time, how surprised are we? Okay, UCLA's 0-3. They've lost to two Group of Five opponents, both of which come from the Mountain West. They've lost to UNLV and New Mexico, and New Mexico is arguably the more inexcusable of the other. But dare I say that UCLA just lost to potentially their next head coach. I've said that for a while. I said that on Saturday, as a matter of fact, when that game was when that game was final. We were here live. I said UCLA might have just lost their new head coach. I said it in a group chat Friday night when it was going on, and I do believe it. I think Jason Eck would be a great hire. But let's talk about what this previous staff did. Of course, Deshaun Foster had the misfortune of following up Chip Kelly, who was, I don't want to say their most successful since Jim Mora, but he was in a lot of ways. And truly, what he did post 2020 was where it really started to pick up. This team had 8 and 9 wins respectively, and sorry, 8, 9, 8 were their final 3 seasons with Chip Kelly from 21 to 23. Last year they went 5-7 with Deshaun Foster. A lot of guys left because, well, that's part of how that works. When a head coach leaves, a lot of guys will leave in the portal. They went 5-7. They went and made a lot of moves in the portal, including getting Joey Aguilar, which then transitioned into losing Joey Aguilar in favor of getting Nico Iamaleava. And they were really excited about Nico. But things have not worked out whatsoever. They bring in other bring a few other guys too in the portal that you think might actually create a lot of success. And as a matter of fact, this offense has been one of the worst in the country, and especially one of the worst in the Power Five. They're 0-3 to start this year. It's just not. It's not the way they wanted it to be. Of course, the Utah game, we knew Utah would be improved. Didn't expect it to be quite that big of a blowout, but we knew Utah would be improved. UNLV, we knew UNLV was okay, but at the same time, UNLV had struggled against Idaho State week 1. Or, sorry, that might have been week 0. And then week 1, they struggled in their game against Sam Houston, but they won. They won by 17 in that one. And then they went in and played UCLA, even though that was in Las Vegas, and took care of business, won that game. You went into this one, and certainly the 14.5, 15.5 point spread that game opened up as felt like too much, the way New Mexico's played and the way UCLA's played. But what we didn't expect was for it to be quite the dominating affair that we witnessed, and it really felt like that was where the UCLA program quit, and the UCLA players quit on the current coaching staff. Deshaun Foster had a season in 3 games, 15 total games with a 5-10 record. It wasn't bad last year. They finished 4-2 in their final 6 games last year after starting 1-5. They showed improvement through the course of the season last year, but they just couldn't get it done when it mattered most this year. They could have started at least 2-1, and I don't think we're having this conversation. We certainly wouldn't be having this conversation. But rather, we're now talking about Tim Skipper, who was the interim head coach at Fresno State last year. For those who don't remember, when Jeff Tedford had to step down preseason, they gave the reins to Tim Skipper. Had an okay year last year. He's going to take over the reins. I'm not expecting this to be, he's going to prove something and be hired. I think they're going to make a different hire here. And I think that, honestly, there's a handful of names that I think I would really love to see. And I've seen some names. I'm going to throw some of the ones out that I've seen that I think would be fun to watch based on whatever situation you want to throw out there. The one for me that really stands out is Jason Eck because of what he did at Idaho, really turned their program around, got them to become a winner. Then brings a bunch of guys in New Mexico, and they stay competitive with Michigan. They go on to win week 2, and then they absolutely dominate UCLA. Like, this is I think a program that certainly will be on the rise as long as he's there, but I don't think it's going to be that long. Why not get ahead of the curve? Why not go ahead and hire this guy? Because we know he's a proven winner, and he's a smart head coach. Like, you watch the game plan that they had, he's really, really a good head coach. You watch what they did against UCLA, you watch what they did against Michigan. That's a very special coach, I think. I would love to see what he could do at a Power 4 school. And the opportunity's right there. He knows the area. He's been on the West Coast the majority of his career, especially those last 2 stops. Why not go to what some may say could be one of the harder jobs in the Big Ten based on location? USC's there. You got a stadium 40 minutes off of campus at the Rose Bowl, which I don't think they'll ever leave, but that is a somewhat of a problem that a lot of people have made mention of, especially when it comes to attendance and revenue and all that stuff. I still think this is a team that you can get a lot out of. I think this is a program that you can get a lot out of. We've seen Chip Kelly do it. Prior to the NIL era, we watched Jim Mora go 10-3 in back-to-back years and have a 9-5 year in 2012. We watched Carl Durrell, of all people, go 10-2 in 2005. Bob Toledo went 10-2 in back-to-back years in the late 90s. Terry Donahue, probably, I would argue, might be one of the most successful head coaches in this school's history. And that spans back all the way into the 70s. So, and then obviously there's like a couple years with like Dick Vermeil and all that stuff. But like, there's a lot of guys here that I think, there's a lot of coaches, there's a lot of teams that have been successful for this UCLA program. I certainly think that we could see them kind of come back to a national prominent level, but it comes to making the right hire. It comes to doing the right things. And I think Jason Eck's a great one to go for. Other names I saw, it would be interesting to go the alum route again, back-to-back hires. But I don't think it would be terrible. We've seen what Tony White's done at Nebraska as defensive coordinator. We see what he's doing right now at Florida State as defensive coordinator. Tony White could be ready, could be. Um, I don't think I would hate that hire if that's one that they make. That's a name that I've seen thrown around. I like that one. I've seen Will Stein a lot, and certainly it would. I think it would help the offensive side of the ball. But I would love to see what that could do for this entire program in general. I'd love to see how that comes together. Will Stein's not really a guy who has a ton of experience leading or in that leadership role. Obviously, he's offensive coordinator at Oregon right now. He's done a great job there. Curious to see how that would push forward, if that would be the move they make. Another move I've seen, or another name I've seen, is Clark Lee, which I don't mind that. I'm actually, look, I was on what he was doing prior to them even being good. You watch the way that this Vandy team had improved over the first couple of seasons, and it was night and day difference. And sure, they weren't quite competitive with the SEC. Why? Because they were that far behind. But you watch them become more competitive. You watch them stay in more games that they played. And in the last 2 years, we've witnessed this team really take that step forward. And sure, it's a lot in part due to transfers, Diego Pavia being as good as he's been, Eli Stowers being arguably the best tight end in college football, and then the defense also coming together really well for them as well. If you see Clark Lea go to a school that maybe has a little more money to push in, a few more chips to put to the center of the table, could Clark Lea be a championship winning head coach? My answer would be yes. I think so. But that's a ways down the road. We're still talking about him at Vanderbilt in 2025, which that team looks really good and can certainly make some damage of their own. It would be an interesting prospect to see. I don't know if he would go for that move because it feels like somewhat lateral, but it's certainly a move that seems as though it could prove itself fruitful. I honestly more like him at the other school we're going to talk about, which is Virginia Tech. Now, if I'm making a prediction right now, I'm going to stick to what I said before because I don't like changing what I say. I don't like changing a prediction. We're changing a pick. I say that I think UCLA just got beat by their new head coach or their next head coach. I'm going to stand by that. I think Jason Eck will be the next head coach at UCLA. There's a lot of time between now and then, but now and that hiring. But that's what I think is going to happen. Could be wrong. It's happened before. But I'd be curious to see kind of what they do. Or do they go make a splash hire? Do they go find a big name and bring him in? That could be another direction to go. All right, we'll move on to Virginia Tech here. I'm just going to write it down. So, at Virginia Tech, the standard was set by Frank Beamer. This is not a program that's had a lot of success prior to, and certainly has not had a whole lot of success following. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and do a little live, unedited look through this school's history because I'm very curious. Kind of how many good years have they had? They only have one 10-win season that did not come from Frank Beamer. That was from Justin Fuente in 2016. In 2016, that's where we're sitting right now. I'm not sure where 2015 sits on this team's card here. Let me see. Yeah, so 2015, the final year of Frank Beamer, they were 7-6. Year one of Justin Fuente, they go 10-4. Then they go 9-4, 6-7, 8-5, 5-6 in 2020, and then they go 6-7 again, losing the Pinstripe Bowl. J.C. Price goes 1-2 as the interim coach. Fuente's fired after 10 games. Brent Pry takes over and goes 3-8 in 2022. They had the cancellation in the Virginia game at the end of the year. Or sorry, I think it might have been the Coastal Carolina game. I think they no, it was the Virginia game. I'm sorry. In 2023, they go 7-6, win the Military Bowl. That's their only above 500 year. They lost the Duke's Mayo Bowl to Minnesota last year at 6-7. Start 0-3 this year with an embarrassing loss to Old Dominion. But not only that, they were up 20-10 at halftime on Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt scores 34 unanswered in the second half, wins 44-20. They got shut down by South Carolina, who ultimately doesn't look all that good after 3 weeks. It's an interesting position to be in. You know, you look at this team prior to the Frank Beamer era. Bill Dooley seems to be kind of the other name that pops into my mind, and of guys who've been around. But the one thing that you could say about this entire program is that they do like continuity. They like to pick somebody and stick with it for a little while. That's been the entire history of the school. You don't see many that weren't head coaches for at least 4 years or more. Um, this is a this is a program that really does pride itself on being that. It prides itself on the continuity. Prides itself on being a school that I think they believe they can be a national championship contender. They think they believe that they can be a playoff contender year in and year out, and certainly an ACC contender, which is the ultimate goal right now. They weren't getting that out of Brent Pry, and that wasn't going to happen. This was a team that last year, coming off of what they did the year before, where they won, what was it, I gotta take a look at this 2023 schedule here real quick and try to remember how many wins they had, but they rattled off a bunch. They won, sorry, 5 of their last 7, including their the Military Bowl over Tulane. But they won 5 of 7. They looked really good. Kyron Jones came into his own, looked really good going into last year, and they never performed last year. And the same thing started off this year. They just are not performing, and there's a lot of reasons for that, but I think the biggest one's coaching, and unfortunately, it's just not going to work out. Brent Pry's a great defensive coach. It's going to land as a coordinator somewhere, but his time as head coach is certainly done this season, or after this season, at least for a while. You look at other things and other notes here that I found. This is the first 0-3 start since 1987, which was the first year for Frank Beamer. They were 1-12 in one-score games under Brent Pry, which is certainly a point of concern and going to be a point of emphasis for coaches going forward. As for how they pursue forward, Philip Montgomery, the offensive coordinator, is going to take over as head coach, as interim head coach. And again, that's not a role I expect to stick around. He's a guy who was a head coach at Tulsa most recently, held a record of 43-53 there. Not hateful to that. Tulsa's not a program that goes out and wins. Has not been a winning program in a really long time. So no shade or anything towards him. It's just I don't think that's going to work. There's a few names that have been thrown around. Now there's one that I've thrown around, and I'm going to continue to because I truly buy into what this guy can be as a head coach, and I buy into the notion that wherever he goes is going to become a winner very fast. And that's John Sumrall. He's the head coach at Tulane, for those who don't know, and sure, he picked up a pretty good bill at Tulane, but he's lost a lot of players as well, whether that goes to the NFL or to graduation, or whether that goes to the portal, like Mekhi Hughes last year, or Darian Mensah last year. And sure, they get helped out a little bit by the fact that Jake Retzloff leaves BYU, comes in as a walk-on, is now your starter. But even before that, like, he has been able to kind of consistently keep this team as a contender and as a front runner in the American, even after Willie Fritz. What we're going to see from him at some point is he is going to jump to the Power 4 level, and I wholeheartedly believe that he's next in line at Florida if he's not picked up by somebody else. That's what I believe is going to happen. Now, I'm not saying that's correct because I've been wrong before, but I can really see a world where John Sumrall lands in Gainesville. However, I think he's a front runner here as well at Virginia Tech. Has he ever really coached that far up? No, but he does have some recruiting ties to the South. He's been at Troy. I spent a lot of time throughout his career in the Southeast, but I think he can make do at Virginia Tech. You've seen what he's been able to do over the course of his time, whether it was at Troy or or here at Tulane. Things would work out there. I'm just one of those like trust me bro situations, but seriously, I think that would be phenomenal. Another one that we've seen is Bob Chesney. I'm going to explain a little more about why Bob Chesney seems to be maybe even more of a favorite than we think or should or have been made to believe going into this run here. The other name we've seen is Alex Gillette. That's the name I threw out here on Saturday, or Sunday, I guess, yesterday, when we were talking about things that coaches that I would call, it'd be John Sumrall and then Alex Gillette. what he's done at USF has certainly surprised a lot of people, including myself. I did not expect him to have the success he did. I remember saying in 2023, I didn't think he was. I think I graded him as like a C plus higher, which was just kind of average. I just didn't think it was going to be all that. Nobody really pay any attention. And instead, he's done a great job. He's really turned things around. A lot of help from Byron Brown, a lot of help from just the transfer portal in general. They've done a great job of utilizing the portal and making the right acquisitions. And holding people there as well is a big deal. Alex Galesh, I think, would be a really solid addition too, but I think that they're kind of tired of the riskier hires. I could see them making a move like a Clark Lea, who is just down the road in Nashville, has whipped their ass twice now. I wouldn't say whipped their ass. That was a close game last year when they went to overtime, but Clark Lea has beat them twice now. Has out game plan them. Like, could you see that happening? I think so. I would see that as well. And there's more money behind Virginia Tech than there is behind UCLA. That's the biggest difference between the two jobs. Is that Virginia Tech just they're not operating in debt over the last couple of years the way that UCLA has. I think UCLA has accrued almost $200 million in debt over the last couple of seasons, or last couple of athletic years as a whole. Whereas Virginia Tech has a lot of money, and they also don't have a big buyout, which neither does UCLA, but they have the money sitting there already. What I'm also watching here, and here's a reason why I think Bob Chesney's getting a lot of love, and rightfully so, because one, he's a good coach. He's done well to not only do what he did for Holy Cross and with Matthew Sluka originally, which is what landed him at JMU when Kurt Cignetti left. But when Kurt Cignetti left, a lot of players left with him. And Bob Chesney did a great job to not only maintain the players that he did, the roster that he did, but he did a great job to build the roster back up and remain competitive. And even this year, remaining competitive and also having Matthew Sluka as his quarterback in what has been a two-quarterback system, which I'm not a huge fan of. It's going to bite them at some point. I'm almost certain of it, but it's been working. So who am I to say anything? The reason for this is the athletic director situation. Whit Babcock has been the athletic director since 2014 at Virginia Tech. A lot of people within the program, and understand, I'm not an insider. I go based off of what I read, what I hear, and a lot of the consistent readings and things are that there's a lot of contention within this program about the athletic director position. They've not made the greatest hires in any sport over the last 5 or 6 years now. And they have not really done... Nothing anybody's done has really backed up and brought in the revenue that they've expected it to, because they haven't been good enough to maintain the revenue. A lot of that falls on the athletic director making the wrong hires and doing the wrong things over the course of time. It seems, and it said a lot to me, that when I was looking through and reading a lot of quotes, the majority of quotes came from Virginia Tech school president. Tim Sands had a lot to say, and I didn't really see a lot from Whit Babcock. Makes me think there's a change coming on that end as well. And if there is a change coming on that end, I've heard a lot of rumblings that Virginia Tech's going to stay in state and go and grab Matt Roan from James Madison and bring him in as the new athletic director. Again, this is all rumor. This is all... I don't like to report rumors, but these are things that are seemingly gaining a lot of traction, and the evidence behind them really builds to that. Because again, a lot of times when a head coach is fired, you'll see a statement, especially when an athletic director sticks around, you'll see the statement come directly from the athletic director. The athletic director will hold a press conference. We haven't really seen or heard a lot from Whit Babcock over the last couple of days. And sure, it's only been 1 day since Brent Pry has been fired. But even when a coach is fired, we saw for UCLA, for example, their athletic director up there, press conference, talking with everybody and being as open and honest as he can. We didn't see that here. It's opening up and really playing into the rumor mill a little bit. But it opens up a lot of conversation, because for a guy personally like me who doesn't think that Bob Chesney is going to be the next head coach at Virginia Tech, this storyline here, if that's the way it really plays out and truly plays out the way that a lot of people have been talking, who knows? It might actually turn out that it is Bob Chesney, which I'm not going to sit here and doubt it, because I've sat here and doubt a lot of head coaching hires before, and I don't want to do it, especially before we even see it, which is probably 3 months away. But it certainly has an interesting tone to it. I would love to see what happens. In a sense, like, you almost wish you could fast forward and just see how this plays out. But at the same time, you want to sit in the moment, because it's only week 3. We got plenty of time. Let's not bring December here any sooner than we need to. But what a kind of a blockbuster coach firing day in college football, which we saw one coming. We didn't see the other one coming. Probably should have. The writing was probably on the wall. But man, what a day around the college football world. So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree? Who do you see being the new head coaches at both of these schools, respectively, UCLA and Virginia Tech? Certainly, there's plenty more coaches on the hot seat. We're going to see, I think, a pretty big coaching carousel this year. We'll see what happens. This is going to be an interesting season, interesting year. One thing I didn't mention, by the way, I didn't mention Shane Beamer. I know that they're going to offer Shane Beamer, or at least you would expect they're going to offer Shane Beamer a legacy hire. I don't know if I truly think that he'll take that job, because he's said openly, but what you say and then what you do behind closed doors can sometimes be different. But I'm not mentioning that, but it's certainly a storyline to watch, I'm sure, for a lot of people. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Who do you think will be the next head coach at both these schools? Thank y'all for tuning in. Again, if you're new around here, please subscribe. Over 90% of people who tune into these shows every day are not subscribed. It's an easy fix. All you gotta do is click that little subscribe button. It's free, by the way. You ain't paying a dime. It's just helping these videos get out more, and help us hit 200 subscribers, which is our next goal and our next milestone to hit. We're 12 away, so please help us get there. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Hope y'all have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Top 25 will release tomorrow for us, and I'll also react to the AP Top 25 that has released as well. So thank y'all. Hope y'all have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.